Today is a good day to talk about Belfast. And the reason that the biggest problem facing, no, not the biggest problem facing Belfast, the biggest problem with Belfast. You see, the funny thing is that anytime you say, oh, Northern Ireland is just like Belfast, and that's it, you get the feeling that Belfast is Northern Ireland and there's nothing else going on. Yes, you get a lot of tourists coming and say, oh, you need to go to Belfast. The pubs are great. The food, well, it's just one of those things you eat in a pub. I just think if you go to Belfast, the biggest problem, in my opinion, is just the weather. It just seems to rain and it's always cloudy for whatever reason. And I'm thinking, if you the biggest, it just almost feels like you're living in some of those Nordic countries like Denmark, Norway, and all that. And yes, the funny thing is when you look at it, a lot of people actually don't realize that Ireland or Northern Ireland is really high up there, in the same level as Scotland and all these other places. So you're not going to get a lot of sunshine there. It's not one of those locations you go to. Go to if you want a good suntan, take your bikini with you and go to Belfast. That's not going to happen. But people still go. So why do you go to Belfast? I don't know. Curiosity, I suppose. And that's why I went to Belfast. Okay, we were in Dublin, I'll put it that way, and then we went all the way further south, and then we went to Galway, and we thought, oh, Galway, this is cute. It's cute. And then you walk around for a couple of hours, you go through all the, what's it called, touristy, the main street where all the people play music and all that. It was lively, but then it rained a bit, but it wasn't too bad. And then you walk around, and after you've done it for about 2 or 3 hours, you think, oh, well, is that it? Yes, that's it. Then it starts to hit you that, oh, Ireland is rather small. And then you drive up north, and then you say, okay, wow, you might as well just go to Belfast and see what the whole thing is all about. You've heard in the news, you've heard about all the other stories. So I think one of the biggest problems with Belfast is that it's got this reputation, and the reputation is it's not like the Berlin Wall where people are saying, oh, the East and the West, and the walls are there to make sure there is peace. And the funny thing is that it's so small that there isn't much to do. You've got the Titanic Museum, you've got the dry docks where you can go and see the museum. It's quite decent. You've even got a zoo there. It's decent. But it's not a place you go because it's a tourist destination. I think a lot of people go to Belfast just to see if it's true. You need to prove it to yourself. Is it really true, everything I've heard about the Northern Ireland? And then you take the bus, you tour, and you start explaining things to you, and then they take you closer to the wall, and you're like, wow, the walls are still here. If you're wondering what we're talking about, that's the Peace Wall. And I think this is one of those things where people go, they're not going for, let me go and take a selfie at the Eiffel Tower. Let me go and take a selfie in front of Big Ben. It's not the same. People are going, it's just like almost you're going into a war zone, because of the history. And people say it's still ongoing. It's not as palpable like when you walk down the streets. It's not as if it's in your face, but then it's there without being there. So you've got monuments to some of the the stories, the victims. It says about maybe almost 3,500 people died during the conflict that started in the 60s. and then they signed a peace agreement and all that. But the fascinating thing is that there's just this curious, morbid curiosity that brings you to Belfast. And when you're there, you've heard, oh, there are places you shouldn't go. Are you Catholic? Don't go to the Protestant area. And are you Protestant? Don't go to the Catholic area. And yeah, people talk about that. But the reality is that people on the ground are saying, look, it isn't as bad as it used to be. There are still tensions, but it's got nothing to do with that. And then when you think about it, people say, "Oh, don't go to Shankill Road or the West Belfast, or don't go to North Belfast or don't go to East Belfast." You think, if I can't go east, west, where else am I supposed to go? Yeah. So I think the psychosis is still there, and when you take the bus and they start showing you the walls and you're looking at it, and you're thinking, "Wow." Especially, I think it hits you more, especially if you've gone to Galway, if you've got to Dublin, and you've been to all these other, you've gone and seen some, I don't know, Wicklow Mountains. You've seen the other side of Ireland. And the stories seem to be so far away, but at the same time, when you get to the walls, you're like, oh, this is real. And the funny thing is that they've been saying we need to get rid of the wall, get rid of the wall so that we can, just move on. But then people were scared. Even the government's like, are you sure you really want to do this? Because I think section of the walls were slightly open to see what's going to happen. And I think this is one of the saddest thing and the biggest problem, I think, with Belfast, is that how if you want to invest in a place that's so volatile, you just think, what would it take for everything to go up in flames? And that is not good. And that is also something that contributes to the state of the city. For example, City Hall, where the council is, it's absolutely amazing. It's a massive building, and you get inside, it's nice. I think it's probably one of the, apart from the cathedral, and the church, there were a few cathedrals there, and Jesuit church, those are really nice inside. Some of the churches would want you to pay because, God needs money, and that's it. And I know, God needs money, and the buildings are not going to take care of themselves. And the funny thing is that, a lot of the people, even when you think about a problem, a lot of people thinking, oh, Catholic and Protestants, most of these people don't even go to church because the churches are not really filled up to a point that you're like, oh, where's everybody? Everyone is in the church, God and all that. No, you probably see more people at the pubs than at churches. Anyway, so back to the story. The big problem is that when you have a volatile situation where the general public is just like, I just want to lead my life. I want to go to the pub, have a Guinness, and then just watch the game and just lead a normal life, get a job and all that. But then it just seems there are some people who would want things to just, they don't want peace, put it that way. And you can feel it in the way things are going, that you're not going to get a lot of investments. You're not going to get a lot of the city growing if you have a volatile situation, and that is not a good thing. And you see that in the city, in some areas they look abandoned, that it just seems that there isn't enough job, the salaries are not great. And one of the things people complain about Ireland, Belfast, is this, that after about 9:30 you don't get a night bus it's over. And then the businesses will close really early, 5:30. It's okay, 5:30. So what about nightlife? People who have gone to work and they want to chill. So the pubs are still there, but even then they don't stay open. So basically, you don't have much to do. You've got and then housing isn't really cheap. There is no development for parks. And that's another thing. There's a waterfront which is nice, but the problem is that it's always cold. You get there, it rains and it's cloudy, and you're like, okay, waterfront. What am I going to do here? Do I need to? Oh, you could have those pedal boats. They're okay, but then if those are things you would expect in in Spain somewhere, Tenerife, Ibiza, because the weather just great, and then you're in your shorts and you're playing in the water. But then if you're all with your coat and all that, and then it's windy and it's just not great. So, because of that, you have a situation where, of course, people, the everyday people just want to lead a normal life, and visiting is great, but it's just that Belfast doesn't have much to offer. So, because it's got nothing to offer, so tourism isn't something that brings in a lot of money. Most of the people who visit, I think it's more out of curiosity. I don't think, if you read online what people actually say, very few people would say, oh, go to Belfast, there's just so much to do. There isn't. So you walk along the street, you go to a pub, you do the bus tour, and that's it. So I think that is lacking. But now imagine you being a tourist coming and you feeling that there isn't much to do. Now imagine the young people. What do they do? And I think that is a big problem, that if you don't have activities for young people, most people would move away. And another thing is that probably moving away is a good thing for younger people, because you also, when you move away from home, another thing that it does for you is that it changes your perspective. You look at the world. If you travel the world, you see how other people see the world. So you're no longer seeing it as us versus them. And then you also realize that the world is a much bigger place than you actually think. And when you come back, it gives you a different perspective. And so I think then it would probably also dilute the issue that a lot of people are facing, sectarianism and all that stuff. So I really do hope that the situation gets better. There is more investment in Belfast, so that it's a bit safer for people. There are more jobs. Then the council can invest in better public transportation instead of relying on expensive taxis and Ubers and all that stuff. So all those things, I think, needs to change. And also that when people visit Belfast, it shouldn't be for the curiosity, because I haven't heard someone say, oh, Belfast is such a magnificent place, or it's cute, it's nice to visit. Unlike Galway, everyone who I've actually spoken to, it's just like, oh, I've done a survey around the world. No, but it's just like people experience Galway and they think, oh, it's small but it's cute. You don't get the same vibe in Belfast, and I think that's a shame. So if what you're known for is not really that interesting, it's not going to make people want to come and visit for the right reason, and probably multiple times, or revisit the place. So I think if that can change, better investment, improve things, more jobs and all that, I think it could be an interesting place. But until then, let's see.